Good afternoon and welcome back to Daytona Beach for day 2 of the virtual 24-hour test week for 2021. Teams and drivers continue their preparations, with today also bringing with it the threat of lingering showers. Once more it was Prototype that kicked off the day's action, with heavy cloud in the sky following overnight rain. The track was dry, but yesterday's rubber had already been washed away, making track evolution the order of the day once more. With the second set of drivers in the car, the paddock was intrigued to see if this would lead to a change in the pecking order. Indeed, it was Adrian Simon that followed teammate Rosendo Werner's lead, though Milkovic, Kanga and Reggie Abbott weren't far away, albeit with lap times still a couple of seconds away from yesterday's benchmark. 10 minutes in, Kanga and Simon were joined at the front by Zviranas and Kinnaman, highlighting the underlying pace of Peugeot, while Takumi Takahashi launched Mercedes-AMG team Kately Arrow into contention. Meanwhile, in Prototype AM, after 15 minutes, Lily Westwood topped the timesheets. Early on, Alexander Zazulya got in amongst the action, rear-ending the high-wind Prototype, who was involved in a second scuffle in as many days. However, this time John Doe had suffered no lasting damage and could continue on. 20 minutes in, it was Alar Kanga and Adrian Simon neck and neck, with Victor Osberg in third for Cadillac under darkening skies. Trevino and Doe enjoyed a battle on track, while Zander Brynildsen joined Takahashi in taking Mercedes towards the front. Timo Kinnaman started to break the Porsche stranglehold of the session, just 7 thousandths off the fastest time, while Ryo Matsuoka in the Maserati also started to move into contention. However, before long the two Porsches once again moved to the fore. Alexander Zazulya set a scintillating lap to move into 5th, and Kip Maxwell and Marcus Thunder struck the first blow for Downton, moving both cars towards the top 10. Half an hour in, and Adrian Simon was the first to dip below the 135 barrier, with Kanga behind and Victor Osberg remaining in impressive third place. In Prototype AM, GTV Silver Cup champion Clint Trevino was impressive in 9th overall, while further back DriverBot sat within 6 seconds in the innovative car. With just 20 minutes to go, Alar Kanga was still fastest, 2 tenths up the road from Adrian Simon, and just over a tenth off the best time from yesterday. Alexander Zazulya moved even higher to third for Jaguar, ahead of Victor Osberg in the Cadillac, though the two were consistently trading positions all the way through the final portion of the session. Takumi Takahashi, Dominicus Zviranas, Reggie Abbott, Clint Trevino and Zander Brynildsen rounded out the top 10 with Nick Addison. Disaster struck for the Cadillac Grey Autosport team about 17 minutes from the end as they followed one another down the pit straight. Victor Osberg looked to be heading towards the pit lane, but made contact with the rear end of Alfredo Di Fernandez, which pitched the Argentine into a violent impact with the wall, counting out for the rest of the session. However, it looks like the car will be rebuilt in time for tomorrow's session. With 10 minutes left, Zviranas progressed up to third overall, while behind there were no fewer than 17 cars within a second. However, Alar Kanga remained on another level on a rubbered-in circuit, 6 tenths up on teammate Seymour alone. Down in 14th and 21st, the Franklin Honda pair will feel they have more to give. What was also a difficult day for Downton, mired in 18th and 20th for much of the latter portion of the session, before Marcus Thunder moved himself into the top 10. In the end though, Alar Kanga was untouchable in the number 21 Porsche, demolishing the best time of his teammate. Reggie Abbott moved into third late on, ahead of an impressive Peugeot pairing, and Alexander Zazulya in the Jaguar. So there you have it. At the end of day 2, the standings were as follows. And now for the all-important cut line. 10 prototypes will have to compete in pre-qualifying on Sunday afternoon. So without considering the 3 cars guaranteed entry from last year's result, if they're on the right of this graph, they are under threat. If they're on the left, they're safe. But as you can see, the bubble is extraordinarily close, and anything could happen heading into day 3 of test week here at Daytona International Speedway. A brief shower interrupted running between the Prototype and GT sessions, with the ACB opting to use the Daytona jet dryers to clear the track due to the pre-qualifying implications for the session. The session eventually got underway at 4:30, 2 hours after originally scheduled. This added another caveat, with lower light levels than expected simply posing another challenge for the drivers. Felix Perez was the early benchmark, leaving everyone trailing after their first run, Ziauddin Al-Farsi highlighting the underlying pace with the Cadillac in second. Luke van der Straten and Alexei Novosinski led the way for McLaren and Porsche respectively, while Dodge's pace continued strongly as well, with Son Miki within a second of the top times. Jonas Phipps took the GTD Jaguar to second overall after 10 minutes with an impressive run, while Alex Easton also took to the Daytona banking impressively, running well. 20 minutes into the session, and Felix Perez continued to be the class of the field, the second clear of all comers. Pablo Del Fuego in the Dodge was second, with Jonas Phipps third in the GTD car, while Sebastian Bergqvist progressed nicely in the 91 Porsche up to fourth. Behind Phipps, next up in GTD was Rodrigo Sanchez in 12th, with Alex Easton continuing to impress third overall in the category. However, up front, it was Perez's dominance just continuing to build, moving over 1.4 seconds clear of everybody else. But just like Prototype, behind the competition was absolutely fierce. At one point, 14 cars were within a second of Sebastian Bergqvist in the second place. In GTD, the amateurs Easton and Jean-Claude Sabatini were starting to get to grips with their machinery, while Ben Faz was taking his time to get up to speed in the Kately Racing Mercedes, rounding out the field. With half an hour to go, it was Son Mi-Ki who was the first driver to get within a second of Perez and start to challenge the Mexican driver, moving 6/10 of Bergqvist in the Porsche in the process. Within a few laps, Son Mi-Ki moved to just 3/10 behind. Drama hit the GT Daytona Franklin of Daniele Mendoza when herself and William Ingram came into contact down the back straight. Ingram was trying to get into the pit lane, while Mendoza was on the inside, and some fantastic car control meant Mendoza was fishtailing all the way through the tri-oval section before eventually coming to a halt by hitting the wall on the outside, albeit at much reduced speed due to her fantastic reactions. 20 minutes from the end, and it was Mi-Ki who finally went one better and finally ended the Perez and Franklin dominance just 37 thousandths of a second up the road. Pablo Del Fuego backed up the Dodge movement while everyone behind gradually closed in. Easton's impressive GTD run continued, getting closer to the front than ever before Perez asserted his dominance on proceedings once more, with finding a 6/10 margin. Kozlowski, Fredrickson and Dick Casper-Davidson all fired in late salvos, but Easton reached all the way up to 7th place in true style in the GTD car, while Daniel Gentek also showed Highwind's pace late on, carrying the Ferrari to 3rd with just 5 minutes to go. However, it was a dominant Felix Perez who took control of proceedings on day 2. So at the end of the GT session for today, the standings were as follows. Much like the Prototype Pro category, GT Le Mans will have the pre-qualifying element on Sunday afternoon, and it's going to be these 7 cars that are at risk going into the final day. So there we have it, a weather-threatened day 2 has managed to pass off without a hitch and without any rain affecting any of the sessions. Join us tomorrow for the final day of pre-season before we head in on Sunday to the pre-qualifying session.